And today's webinar, we're going to be talking about course management. So what we're going to go through is how to view and create a category, how to arrange categories, how to move courses from one category to another, how to create a new course, how to work with the course settings, how to add content to your course, how to add a quiz to your course. And that should fill up the entire half hour. If you have questions as we go through, you can click on the icon to raise your hand, and I'll try to keep an eye out for that. Or you can ask, of course, at the end. I'll do the usual question and answer period when we're done with the session. So what we're going to take a look at first is the category structure here. And on the screen, I have shared my training database, again, a dummy website where we can come in and break it and not worry, used just for training purposes. So it may look slightly different than your websites because you may have rearranged things or customized things, but it will work the same way, same functions. I have my course categories displayed right here in the center of the screen, and anything that is light gray is hidden from the end users, and it's only visible to administrators. To make changes to these categories, what I'm going to need to do is click on Courses in the Site Administration menu box right here, and then once I've clicked on Courses, I'm going to choose Add/Edit Courses. This brings you to the place where you can perform all sorts of functions, where we can create new categories, we can rearrange things, we can show or hide categories, we can add new courses. There's a number of choices from here. So again, from the home screen, I went to the Site Administration box and selected Courses, and then Add Edit Courses. Now on the screen, we see all of the categories that we saw back on the home page, but there's a set of icons here to help me make changes. The first icon is that hand holding a pencil. This will let you edit a category. Let's say you want to rename one of the categories. You can certainly do that. You can name it whatever you'd like. This icon will delete a category. If the category is empty, that's no problem at all. If the category has contents, it's going to come back, let's click that, and ask you what to do with those contents. Should I move them to a different category or should I delete them permanently? So you just want to make the appropriate choice. We're going to back up. If there's a category I'd like to hide from the end users, if they shouldn't see it, I'm going to go ahead and just click the eyeball, and that makes it hidden. If there's something that's currently hidden that I would like displayed, I'm going to click the closed eye and it opens up. That's now visible to the end users. So it's very easy to come in and show or hide an entire category. It's going to automatically hide everything inside that category as well. Now I can rearrange the list to make it a little bit easier to navigate by using these arrows. I can move items up or down within the list. And then there's a place here where I can move a category. You can have subcategories. Many of you probably do. My example here is Training Resources is a category that doesn't have any independent courses in it, but it has 4 subcategories. Each of those categories live inside Training Resources. And if I wanted to move one back up to the top level, I could click right here and choose Top. If I wanted to move it inside another category, I could choose any other category here. So it's very easy to move a category from one spot to another or promote it up to top level. So if you find yourself wanting to rearrange your courses, this is a great way to do that. Create subcategories to help you organize them. There, I've tucked it right back into Training Resources. If I select any of these categories, we're going to start with 2015 here, all of the courses are displayed right on the screen. And I have a set of icons here, just like I did when I was looking at the category listing, but I have a few additional choices. So from here, I can edit course settings, I can assign roles within a course, I can delete a course, I can show or hide individual courses. So remember that you could hide an entire category, but maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you just want to hide 2 or 3 courses in that category. You can come and do that independently. I have an icon here that allows me to back up a course and an icon that allows me to restore a course. Now, we don't have to back up these courses on a regular basis because the site is automatically backed up each night for you. But you may want to take a backup or a snapshot at some point in time if you're about to make substantial changes. And then you can hang on to that backup in case you ever need to restore it. You may also take a backup of a course without any history or user activity and restore it as a new course. You can give it a new name. That way you have two copies of the same course that can be changed independently. So that's how you would make a copy. And of course I can rearrange this list if I'd like to. I can move things up and down just using the arrows. And this last column that says select. If I'd like to move a course into a different category, I can choose that course right here. And then down at the bottom of the list, I choose where I'd like it moved. Naturally, you can choose multiple. So I can move as many courses as I'd like to whichever category I'd like. Now, if I would like to create a new category, I can do that at any time. I'm going to come back here to Add, Edit Courses. Right on this screen where we had the list of categories, there was a button that said Add a New Course and a button that said Add a New Category. So you can jump right into either. When you create a new category, you can choose, is it a top-level category or will it sit inside one of the other categories? And then you give it a name. A description is optional, but you can certainly put a description in here if you'd like. Whatever text would be helpful for you. And then create category. So it's very quick and easy. All we have to do is give it a name. And you can create numerous categories and then move all the courses into those new categories and delete the old empty categories if you'd like. You can also simply rename them, whatever is easiest. Now if I want to add a subcategory to this category, I can. So I have here edit this category now that I'm looking at one, add a subcategory or add a course. So instead of just add a category, I have two different choices now. I can still change which one of the categories I'm looking at up here. So if I want to go back to pre-screening and add another subcategory here, I certainly can. So we'll just create a second one. Now, if there are courses that you want to move into those categories, remember that you're going to come and select that course and you're going to move it into the new category. Just like that. So I'm going to return to Add, Edit Courses again. That always gives me a fresh start back at the beginning. And now you'll see that pre-screening has 0 courses in it, but it has 2 subcategories now. And one of those subcategories has a course in it. That's where I moved the course to. And again, if you have a category that's empty and you'd like to delete it, you certainly can. So it's fairly quick and easy to come in here and create categories, edit categories, move them around, move the contents within them. Now let's talk about how to add a brand new course. We're going to choose Add a New Course. And again, you can get here right from the Add, Edit Courses link on the sidebar. On the course screen, these are the course settings that you can come back and edit at any time. And there's quite a bit to fill in, but in most cases the defaults are going to work fine. So we're going to go through this. I want to remind you that there's little yellow question marks everywhere we go to help you with each of those fields if you're not sure what to put in that box. Anything that you do put in here can be changed later. Nothing is locked. So don't stress out trying to make sure you get it exactly right. Just go ahead and create your course, and you can always fine-tune it after the fact if you need to. Now the first thing, of course, is which category will this be in? So it really depends on where you started. All right. And I'm going to say we want to add this one to the pre-screening AutoCAD screenings. Then we need a course name. So my full name is going to be, AutoCAD pre-screening. My short name can be anything that I'd like. Generally speaking, most of the names fit in both fields. If the name of the course is too long, then it won't fit in both, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and say AutoCAD screening, just dropping the word pre. Now it fits perfectly. This short name is actually displayed up in the navigation bar, so when somebody is viewing a course, and it's also displayed in a number of reports. So when you're trying to look at activity reports, you'll see AutoCAD screening. The course ID number is completely optional, and there's no need to put anything in here. Again, the little yellow question mark will remind you. It's never displayed anywhere, and it doesn't actually do anything. If you have your own internal sort of course catalog that you're now bringing into this site. You can certainly add a course ID number just for your own reference, but it won't do anything terribly exciting. And the summary box. This is an optional piece. You don't have to fill it in. But when somebody's browsing the course listings, if they see a summary, sometimes it's helpful for them to know which course they need to be in. So I'll just put in here, pre-screening exam for AutoCAD users. Now, this is one of those boxes like we saw in the other areas with HTML, so I can come in here and change the size, the font, the color, add pictures, whatever you'd like, but I'm just going to put that quick little description. Now, the format is going to default to topics, okay, and that's the most common format. That's how we have all of our courses set up. But you can change this to be weekly if this is something you're doing as an in-house course and you actually want to schedule it out over the next several weeks. Or you can do a social format, which is really just a discussion forum. The SCORM format is not fully supported, I believe, at this time. So if we try to create a SCORM course, it would be a lot more work than it's really worth if you've already got software to create those SCORM courses. Okay. So a SCORM course, if you don't know exactly what that is, it's a course that has certain settings or certain setup, I should say, that make it easy to report on and track somebody's progress, and it can be tied to other systems. So if we wanted to create a SCORM format course, we can, so that it can connect to other things for reporting, but whatever that other piece is it's connecting to, it may be much easier to create that course over there. If you find yourself in a situation where you need to do that, by all means give me a call and we can walk through it together. Okay, and again, there is a little help file here that's going to tell you exactly what those are. All right. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to choose topic format. I do sometimes see people choose weekly as well if it's going to be a live course. Now the next step is how many weeks or topics do we want on the screen? So again, if it's going to be a 5-week course, you would make it 5. If this course is going to have 4 chapters or 8 chapters, you choose the appropriate number here. And you can always come back and change it later. The course start date is going to default to, I believe it's tomorrow. It always assumes it's going to be starting the next day, and you can leave that. Hidden sections. If we hide one of those 8 chapters, do we want it to still show a title but just have no content, or do we want to completely hide it? I'm going to say it's completely invisible. That way they don't even see that title. They don't feel like something's missing. News items to show. If you have a news forum, how many of those news items do you want displayed automatically? The default is usually fine. Do we show a grade book to students? In other words, can they come and check on their quiz scores? And they'll only see their own quiz scores, nobody else's. Do we show activity reports to students? Now the default is no, but you can certainly change that if you want. And again, over here is the question mark that's going to help you understand what it is that gives them access to. Okay. Maximum upload size. When you create a course, you may want to upload files into it. This is where you can determine the maximum size for a file being uploaded into your course. So we may need to adjust that. The highest I can go by default is 16 megabytes. That's usually the limit throughout the site. If you are going to be uploading video files, you're going to need a lot more space than 16 megabytes. So please reach out to us at Client Services and we can help you adjust the size as need be. Okay. Force theme. This is not something you will typically see. This is an option that I've added in so that you guys can see absolutely everything, but it's usually hidden. This is where you can choose a specific theme for the course if you wanted to. And is this a meta course or not? The answer is almost always going to be no. We don't have meta courses set up, but there is a question mark to help you understand what that means. So it's going to take all of its enrollments and role assignments from another course. Okay, so there's like one master course and it shares the enrollments with all of the sub-courses. Speaking of enrollments, that is the next section, and the defaults will typically work fine here. As far as enrollment plugins, there's really only one available, and that's internal enrollment. And the default role for people who enter this course is going to be student. Is this course enrollable or not? Now, if I say no and somebody clicks on my course title, it's going to come back and return a message of this course is not enrollable at this time. And then the user can't get in. So if you're still working on this and you're not ready for the world to start taking it, you can say no. You can also set a date range if it's something that's only available during a specific date range, and then enrollment can close. Typically, we leave it set to yes. That's the default. We want it open. We want students to be able to access it. And then enrollment duration. Once they've enrolled, how long is that enrollment good for? And we usually set it to unlimited because in our setting, this is not a school year. These are typically businesses that want to have access indefinitely. But if you are in a situation where you do want to limit it, you can certainly set a number of days. And if you decide you want to limit how long this person is enrolled in the course by default, there is a place right here where you can tell us if you want to warn that person that it's about to expire. So your enrollment in the following course is about to expire. I can say yes or no, and then I indicate here, notify students. This goes to the teacher. This goes to the students themselves. And threshold means how many days before they expire. How much warning do we want to give them? So all of this is irrelevant if we've left it unlimited. It's only important if we're going to expire that course. Groups. Now, groups looks a lot more exciting than it really is. I can set up separate groups within a course, and what it does, I give each group a name, okay, like Group A and Group B. It allows me to add students to each of those groups for reporting purposes. And unfortunately, that's all it does is really for reporting purposes. When I come look at my grades, I can say, show me Group A. Now show me Group B. But it doesn't really impact the students themselves. It doesn't change the way they're seeing the course. So it's not quite as exciting as it sounds. But you can certainly set that up for reporting, especially if you have different managers that you want just to see their employees. Availability. Is this course currently available to students or not? That's the same thing as whether or not it's hidden. So if I hide something, it'll say no, it's not available. If it's visible, then it says it is available. Enrollment key is a password. If you want to have a course that's locked and people can only enroll once they get the password, and you can make how they get the password anything you want. Maybe they have to pass another course, maybe they have to go to HR, whatever it may be. But you can leave it blank, and that's the default, is to not have a password here. And then last but not least, guest access. Do we allow guests into this course or not? Now, a guest is somebody who comes to your website and hasn't logged in. And I believe most of you have set it up that we don't have guests browsing the websites. Okay, we can always go and double check. But if you had, let's say, a demo course that you wanted the world to be able to see, you would make this course available to those guests, and they would be able to come in and view just that one course. They wouldn't see all of the CADLearning content. They'd see the list, but they wouldn't be able to view the content itself. But typically, it's going to say do not allow guests in. Forcing the language, it's typically going to be in English. You can force it to another language, or you can let the user decide. And role renaming, one of the most useless choices on the screen. This is where you can actually rename each of these roles so that it makes a little bit more sense in the business world. So instead of administrator, I may put manager. Instead of teacher, I may put director. Who knows? I might want to name it anything I want. But the reason I say it's somewhat useless is that it's only affecting this one course. So if I want to change the names of those roles, it's probably smarter to go do that at the administration level so that it affects all courses instead of going one at a time. So on the course settings, I have filled in all of the required information. I made a handful of changes, but most of it I kept as default. Okay, the only thing I really changed, I think, was I came in here and adjusted the number of topics and increased the maximum upload size. The rest of it I left the same. We talked about it a lot because I wanted you to know what it was, but we didn't have to change it. So I'm going to go ahead and save changes. Now it brings me immediately to a screen where I can assign roles in my course. What this means is you may have an employee who's going to be in charge of this course. You can make them an administrator for just this one course. You can make them a teacher for just this one course. You can make them a non-editing teacher, etc., etc. All right, so if we wanted to assign somebody to be in charge of this course right now, we could. If we wanted to manually enroll students in this course right now, we could. We can click on student and pick who should be enrolled. I'm going to leave it blank, and typically you will too. We're going to let those students usually self-enroll. And I'm going to click here to enter my course. Here is the new course that we've just created. So I have on the screen what should look somewhat familiar based on the other courses. I have my topic outline. 8 topics is what I selected, so that's what I have here. They don't have anything in them yet. We need to do that still. And I have a few extra boxes here. I have search forums. I have participants. I may want to hide those boxes. We typically do in the CADLearning courses. You may want them available in your course. It's up to you. I have an administration box where I have all the tools that I need to manage this course. Some of these tools were available back on the category list, like settings. That was one of the options. We could edit the settings. This is the same screen we just filled in. This is where I can come and change any of these options. If I go 8 was way too many, I only needed 5, no problem. I just save my changes, and now I have only 5. I can assign roles. This was part of creating the course. If I didn't do it then and I want to come and add a student manually now, I certainly can. I can look at the grades. Of course, I don't have anything in here to look at yet. I can look at the groups that I've set up. I can take a backup of my course. I can restore another course into this course or import files. I can reset a course, which is going to clear out all of the history in this course and have you start fresh. So any user scores, any activity logs gone. Okay, if you were testing a course, you may want to clear it out before you launch it for real. Reports is where you can see all the activity for this course. Questions is where my questions will live for all of my quizzes. Files is where any files I upload will live for this course. And then there's also a link to my profile. Now, once we have our course created, we're of course going to want to add a few things to it. So right here I can click Turn Editing On. I also had that choice in the menu over here, and it really doesn't matter which one you use, whatever you're comfortable with. When I turn editing on, that's when I get all of the icons here on the screen to help me make changes, just like we do when we're changing a home page. So anytime you see this icon with a hand holding a pencil, that allows you to edit. So this will edit the summary for my course. The summary is typically the introduction, an explanation of what this course is and what people should do in it. The course came with a news forum. I may want that. I may not. I can hide it. I'm going to hide it. And then I can start adding in my resources for each of these sections below. Notice how I have boxes for each topic? That's how it knows where to put that resource. If I accidentally add something to topic 2 that should have been in topic 4, I can always move it. There's going to be a tool to move it later. But this is where you would choose where you're going to add those resources. Adding these resources works exactly the same as it does on the home page. Okay, so I have 2 boxes. One is resources, where I can put in a book, a label, a text page, a web page, a link to a file or website. This is what you're going to use probably 90% of the time. Display a directory of files or add an IMS content package. Activities. This is where I can add an online assignment. I can add in a certificate for this course. I can put in a chat box. I can create a checklist, create a choice, which is a little bit like a survey. Anytime you want to go through these and see exactly what they all do, this little yellow question mark is going to help you. I don't want to bore you by reading the entire list, but you can go through and read each of these. In the stock CADLearning courses that you get, what we've added to each one of the sections is a link to a website. We store all of our videos remotely, so that's how we've created our courses. They're all links. Okay, you may create yours just a little bit differently, and that's perfectly fine. You may upload the content right in here. So one of the first things I'd want to do is probably give a title to this topic. All right, and we're going to call it Getting Started. Now again, take a look up here. You have all the tools you need. So in these little topic areas, you can drop a picture in. You can change the colors. You can change the fonts. You can center things, whatever you feel like. Yeah, put a few changes in. And then you get a topic. Okay. Now, of course, we want to start adding our resources. So in here, the first thing I'm going to choose is to link to a file or website. And when we link to a file or website, the first thing we have to do is give it a name. What do we want this referred to when the person is looking at the course? And I'm going to say, yeah, we're going to say Getting Started. I know that's what I already called the topic, but that's okay. A description is optional, but it is available here if you want to put something in. and then the location. Now, if this is another website that you're pointing to, you're just going to go ahead and type the address in here. All right, so why don't I put just like that. If it is a website, that's all you have to do. You don't have to change any of these optional settings. All right, you can if you wanted to control whether or not people can resize the window. Depends on the resource, I suppose, that you're uploading. But typically, I leave all of those just as they are for defaults. And I choose Save and Return to Course. So all I did was give this a name and a URL. Getting started. And when somebody clicks that, it's going to bring them to the events page. Okay, probably not the best name for that resource. So anytime you want to, you can edit the name of a resource. You can click Update. And I can come right back here and say Upcoming Webinars. That might make a little more sense. Now, if I want to upload a document, I'm going to use that same choice, link to a file or website. Again, I'm going to give it a name. And then instead of typing in a URL, I'm going to click this button right here that says Choose or Upload a File. And I'm going to get a pop-up box that shows me any files that are already in this course. I don't have any. The list is empty. So I'm going to need to click Upload a File. Now, it shows me here that the maximum size is 16 megabytes. Remember that you can reach out to us if you need that changed. And to locate the file that I want to upload, I need to click Browse. So you're going to want this to be on your computer somewhere so that you can navigate to it. I'm going to choose the document that I'm looking for. I'm going to click Open. Right down here, I'm going to say Upload this file. Now that I've selected the one I want, I'm going to upload it into the course. Now that I've uploaded it into the course, I'm going to choose this file to be attached to this resource. So the file name appears here in the location. So it's the exact same task whether I'm uploading a link or a document. They look a little bit different once I get here. Let's turn editing off. If I click Getting Started, it's going to go ahead and open a PDF document. This is what I just uploaded. And the user can print it, they can save it, whatever they'd like. If I click on Upcoming Webinars, it's going to open a browser and bring them to the URL we put in there. You can put as many resources as you'd like into your course. And as far as what type of file, it can be any file type you want, as long as the end user has the appropriate software to open it. If I put a Photoshop file here, somebody has to have Photoshop in order to view it. Otherwise, their computer won't know what to do with it. So we don't restrict the file type. It's just a matter of what do your users have on their system that's universal that they can open the file with. Now, you can come back and you can edit this course at any time, and you can add additional resources anytime you want. Okay, so I can put a label in here which is just text. I can create a text page or a pop-up web page. Now, what both of these do is they just create a new page that's going to open when somebody clicks the link. So we'll call this one text page. Description, optional. Remember, it doesn't show up anywhere. And then the actual web page itself. This is a pop-up text-only page. Now, down at the bottom, I'm going to say Save and Return to Course. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add a web page. It looks a little bit different. Oops, optional. Right down here, instead of just text, I have my full toolbar, so I can put whatever I'd like in here. I can add a table, I can add an image, I can put in text, I can center it, arrange it, whatever we'd like. I can add links to it, absolutely anything you want. Now when the end user returns, if they click on this, it's going to pop open a window with either just text or perhaps colorful text with links and pictures. So the idea here is that if you need to share information and you don't already have it captured in a document, you can create it on the fly. If you've already got the document created, by all means, just upload it like I did here. There's no need to recreate it, but this is helpful if you just want to share some information real quick. Okay. You can hide resources if you need to, then only administrators see them. You can also hide or delete these boxes that are on the outside of the course. You may not need all of these. So if I'm not using the news forum, I probably don't need a latest news box. I can remove that. If we're not doing events on our calendar, I probably don't need that box. Recent activity, this is up to me if I want to see that listed here or not. I may hide it. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to click the eyeball. Over here, participants, if I want a list of people who are in this course, activities, so I can show or hide each of those boxes as you'd like. Of course, you can also add boxes. So I just deleted the search because it was search forum, and that's not going to help us much. We don't have a forum. I'm going to replace it with search lessons. That's the one we need. And maybe I don't want it over here all by itself. Maybe I want to put it on the other side, just like we have in all the other courses, and scoot it right up to the top. I'm just going to use the arrows to push it up one section at a time. So now it looks a little more familiar. So we can create a course from scratch. It's really as simple as putting in those course settings and giving it a name. And then we can come in and populate our course with all sorts of resources. And you can put as much information into each course as you want. You can have numerous topics and organize all the resources. Last but not least is quizzes. And we did run just a little bit over on time today because I haven't talked about quizzes yet. So I want to do a quick poll. I'm going to have you raise your hand if you would like to stick around to see the quiz piece, if you're okay with time. So you're just going to do raise hand if you'd like to stay and see that. Okay. I think we have a few who'd like to see it. If you don't want to stick around because you have a time constraint, I completely understand that, and I apologize for running over. You are welcome to send in any questions you have to me by email. You can always reach out to us at support@cadlearning.com, and we'd be happy to help you. Now, I'm going to return to the course here, and I'm going to go ahead and click Turn Editing On. And we're going to add a quiz. I'm going to put it right down here in topic number 3. It certainly doesn't need its own topic, but just so that we can fill the screen up. The quiz is found under Add an Activity. That's one of the choices here is quiz. And the first thing we have to do is give our quiz a name. All right, so we're going to say Overview Quiz of Getting Started. A description will be displayed for the user when they're about to start the quiz. So a lot of the resources, the description's not on the screen. With a quiz, they will have a chance to see it. So if you have special instructions here, you can put them in. Timing. We can indicate if this quiz is only open during a certain time. All right, so this comes in handy if you're doing one of those live courses where you're actually doing it on site. You can open the quiz at a particular time once you've finished all of your lectures and then have it close at a certain time when you're ready to get all the scores back. By default, we have that disabled because these courses are really made to be on demand. Time limit. If you want to say that a person has to finish this quiz within 60 minutes, you can. We don't have a time limit by default on the stock quizzes, but it really depends on what you're creating. Sometimes that is relevant. Time delay between the first and second attempt. So let's say they take the quiz, they get their results, they're not too happy with the results, maybe they got a 60 or 50. Do they immediately get to try the quiz again, or do we want them to have to wait 30 minutes or 60 minutes, etc.? So you can wedge a delay in between there so they can't try it immediately after trying the first time. And then you can add a different iteration between later attempts. So after their second attempt, if they're going to try it a third, maybe I want them to wait an hour this time. The idea here, of course, is that if they take it immediately, they may remember some of the things they already saw. If you ask them to wait a little bit longer, it is like looking at it fresh. But that is entirely up to you. Over here for display, do we want to shuffle the question, excuse me, let me start over. I was blending them. Questions per page. How many will fit on a page before they have to click next? We have it set to unlimited because the user typically just scrolls through the exam. But if you wanted to have maybe 5 questions per page, you certainly can. And then they'll just have to click next to go to the next page. Shuffle questions. This is where you can determine if you would like the questions in a different order every time they take the quiz. Now, this does make it a little bit tricky to troubleshoot as an administrator. If somebody calls and tells you there was a problem with question number 5, well, that could be completely different when you look at it. So it's up to you if you want to do that or not. But if you want to make sure that it's not something that's easy to remember, you can go ahead and shuffle the questions so they come in a different order every time. Shuffle within questions, okay? And again, we have our little question marks to help you. So it's telling you if you enable this option, then the parts making up the individual questions will be randomly shuffled each time they start an attempted quiz. So it's going to go ahead and shuffle the answers, essentially, okay? Again, it's one of those things that makes it harder to troubleshoot after the fact. I chose B. Well, B may not be the same when you come look at it. But if you would like to make sure that it's shuffled every time, you certainly can. Attempts. I mentioned up here that you could have a time delay between each attempt. You can also limit how many times they can try it. Maybe after the 3rd time, they're all done. That is up to you. Each attempt builds on the last. So if they had a 60% and then the next time they get a 70%, are they building up their grade each time? And adaptive mode. Let me click on this. The default is saying yes, but we're going to change it. So if we choose this, they can actually submit each question individually and get feedback as they go. Okay, so we're not going to do that. We want them to submit everything together at the end. Grading method, which grade do we want to see on the grader report? If they've taken this 3 times, which grade should be displayed? Apply penalties. This is irrelevant right now because I said no to adaptive mode, but if we go ahead and look at this, you'll see when it's in adaptive mode and they're allowed to try again after they got a wrong response. In that case, you may impose a penalty for each wrong answer. So if they got it wrong and they try again and they get it wrong again, do you actually want to deduct from their score? That is an option. And decimal digits for the grades, the default of 2 is usually fine. Review options. As somebody completes a quiz, they have the option to go through and review each of those questions. And this is where you can determine, do I want them to review their responses, the answers, the feedback, the general feedback? So we typically don't like to give them the answers. They can get feedback and they can see their score, but we're not going to give them the answers typically. That is up to you. Browser security. I usually skip right over this when I create a quiz, but just so you know what it is, if you were in an environment where you need to keep the testing area secure, you can come in and say this is a full screen pop-up with some JavaScript security. In other words, they can't open this quiz and then open another window to go look up the answers. They're stuck in that full screen pop-up until they finish. Do we require a password to get into this quiz? And is there a required network address? If you actually have a testing machine or a testing room, you can put an IP address in here, and the quiz will only work on that machine. Again, I never get that specific with my quizzes, but you never know. It's possible you may want to. Common module settings. So this is where we indicate group modes for reporting. Is this quiz going to be separated into groups? Is it visible? Is there an ID number? That's another one of those things where you certainly don't need to put an ID number in here, but you can if you want. Okay. And the grade category, we only have one category right now. There's nothing else to choose from. Overall feedback. When they look at the quiz results after they've finished, you can put in feedback based on their score. So if they got 100%, we could say wonderful. If they got a 90%, we can say excellent. You get the idea. We drop down to 60%, try harder. Drop down to 30, try monster.com. Okay? You can put in whatever feedback you'd like here. Now, once you have filled out all of the quiz settings, you're going to click Save, and this is where I'm going to let you know you can come change them later. So if you change your mind, oh, I forgot the percentage, my bad. If you change your mind at any point in time, you can come and adjust these. Now, I've created a quiz, but did you notice I didn't put any questions in it yet? So my next step is to select that quiz that I've just created and start adding questions to it. All right. In a course, we create a question bank, and that bank of questions will be listed here for you. I don't have any questions in my bank yet. It's empty. So I have to create these questions. Right here, I can say create a new question, and I can choose what type of question I want. Multiple choice is what we use most often, but there are other choices, and there is a help file to help you make your selection. The category is preset based on what was on the last screen. The question name. Now, the question name is something you're going to see when you're reviewing the quiz. It's not something the end user typically sees. This is where we typically create a unique name based on the topic or the lesson that it came from. Okay? So we're going to say, we're going to call this one file. I'm just making it up. Question text. What are we actually asking the end user? How do you upload? No, not how do you. How about can you upload a file? Right down here, default question grade. We make all of our questions worth 1 point. So if it's a 5-question quiz and they get one wrong, of course that's 20%. Penalty factor. If we have adaptive mode, how much do they lose if they come back and get it wrong? General feedback. We had overall feedback for the quiz itself, but what feedback would I want to give on this question after they answer it? Is there one or multiple answers? So of all the choices I list below, how many of them are correct? I'm going to say 1. Do I want to shuffle my choices? And how do I want them listed? That's just formatting. My first answer, I'm going to say yes. Grade. This is where I indicate if this answer is correct or not. Now, if you have partially correct answers, you can choose percentages in here. This is 100% correct. Yes, I can upload a file. My second choice will be no. This is going to give them no grade. None. So I'm not going to actually penalize them, but I'm not going to give them any points either. Choice 3, don't know. Pretty sure that one's also wrong. Choice 4, sometimes. Maybe I want to give partial credit for that. So you would continue filling in all of your answers. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have only one correct answer, and the rest are going to say no. Okay. Just beneath where all the answers live, and notice how you can create more answers if you wanted more than 5, but I think that's a little overwhelming. This is where we can put feedback. So after they submit their quiz, if they got this question correct, what do we want to say? If they got it partially correct, and if they got it incorrect. Now, remember, this is just that one question. You can set individual feedback for each and every question if you'd like. So now I've added a question to my question bank, and I can continue doing that until I have multiple questions here. You may create 10, 20, whatever you'd like. Once you've created them, you still have to add them to that quiz. So they're in my question bank, but I need to click Add to Quiz. And this will scoot that question on over into this quiz. Okay. Well, it would if I selected it first. There we go. So you may create, again, let's say you created 20 questions here, but you only wanted to add 5 of those to this quiz. You can do that. Choose which 5 you want and add them. Then remember, this question bank will be open for all the quizzes in this course. So you can choose any of those questions for a different quiz. Oh, hold on. Looks like we have a question that came in. I want to see if I can get that to show up on my screen here. I'm going to stretch that out. There we go. I have added a quiz and created a question for the quiz. How do I link my video to the question so that when the individual misses the question, they have a video to review? Oh, that's a tricky question. You could put that right in the feedback. Okay, so that on the screen in the quiz results, in the feedback, it would say you should probably review this video. Okay, let's go into that question that I just created. You can edit a question anytime you want, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to edit. We're going to say we want to edit this question, and we're going to scroll down to the feedback. Now, let's say they got it incorrect. Right here I can say try this video, and I can drop a link in for whatever video it should be. First I'm going to put a name, then I'm going to add a link. Now I don't obviously have a link off the top of my head. You would have to open a second window and grab that link. Oops, www.cadlearning.com, and OK. So you can put it right in the feedback there. That does unfortunately mean you have to stop and think about each question you add, what video did it come from. So if you've created a list of questions in advance, it may be good to go ahead and put, like if you have a little spreadsheet going with your question and the correct answer, maybe put in that spreadsheet the video link that it should point to so that you can provide that right here. Now that's not quite the same as using the Curriculum Builder tool. The Curriculum Builder tool is a little bit different. And I'm not sure that I have access to make changes to that right here. Is that the tool that you were looking for? Because I'm not sure if I can. I'm double checking. Nope, that's it. That's all the choices I have. So if you were trying to build that suggestion into a curriculum builder, custom curriculum, I'm going to need to get some information for you on how those are created. I don't have that here on the screen. But if you just wanted to provide quick feedback to the user, you could certainly drop it in that way. Now, we would continue to add questions, of course, to our question bank here. And remember, they don't have to be multiple choice. It just happens to be those typically are the easiest to create. But I can make whatever type I'd like. Okay, it might be true, false, short answer, numerical, etc. And as I add them to my bank, I'm going to scoot them over to this quiz. And when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and update the quiz. Now I can come back home. I can return to the new course that I've just created. I'll find the quiz listed here. The description that we put in place is here for the user to see. It does tell me that I get 3 attempts and that I have a time limit of 1 hour. And I can preview the quiz if I'd like to see how it looks to the end user. So notice how it started a clock, a little countdown. They can select their answer. They could submit all, and this is where they get that feedback. Try again. Go try this video. And there's a link. If you want to edit the quiz settings at any time as an administrator, you can click on the quiz itself, and you'll find an edit screen right here. This will let you change which questions are on the quiz. Once people start taking the quiz, you will no longer have the ability to add or remove questions. It will lock it down because people have scores. You can always edit the question if you find something wrong within a question, but you won't be able to remove it from the quiz. If you want to update the original quiz settings, including the time limit, etc., then you're going to choose Update this quiz. And that's going to bring you to a screen where you can make changes to all of those original settings. That is how you can create a quiz within your course and add questions to your quiz. Any questions on any of the content that we have looked at today? Okay, I want to go ahead and thank you guys for your time. If you do come up with any questions, you can always email them to us. Have a wonderful afternoon.